Hi everyone, welcome to ELI, the place where you get your daily dose of inspiration for entrepreneurship. And today we have with us Miss Soumya Tiwari and Miss Babita Sinha, who are the founders of Your Green Canvas, promoting nature-made art. Hi Soumya, and hi Babita. Welcome to ELI.
Hi, Priya.
Thank,
Thanks for
thank.
inviting us.
Yeah, it's a great platform to be appearing on, so we are very happy.
Soumya and Babita, I'd request both of you to introduce yourself. Would start with Soumya.
Yeah, hi everyone. As Priya mentioned, we are the founders of Your Green Canvas. Now, this is a company born out of sheer love for plants and greeneries, and also a little bit, inspired by our passion and our want to do something which was not, the regular corporate life. I come from HR background. I was working in a corporate HR company. Babita comes from, she was a day trader. So, this whole company was born out of our sheer love for, plants, greenery, and our willingness and our will to do something different, something that has an impact, something more meaningful than what we were doing. And here we are 7 years down the line, and we're quite happy with what we have been able to achieve, but there's so much more to go, do. Babita, do you want to add?
As Soumya told, that it was born out of sheer passion for what we love. We could see greenery in every aspect, and we were thinking that being in a big city, people were missing something inside their homes. And initially, when we started, it was only with small green products, as we grew, our canvas has also grown large, from small tabletops to now highways, and we'll come across that in the yes. But the motivation basically was to bring greenery inside the homes of people who were missing greenery in big cities.
Got it. Uh, Now tell us in detail about your green canvas. Like what is the kind of reach and what is the kind of impact we have brought in to our society as of now.
Okay, so I'll start with this, that we started, as Babita mentioned, from our homes, because whatever impact, whatever change that we need to bring into the society needs to start from our home. So our products, our services started from how to introduce greenery to our indoor environment. So be it a small plant, be it indoor gardens, be it balconies, be it, as Babita mentioned, tabletops. Once we had a little bit of handle on how to introduce greenery indoors, it started growing a little bit outside, and then the next step was to work with uh, you know smaller retail clients, like your restaurants, your pubs, breweries, wherein we started talking to people about how to incorporate nature into their overall design, and how to make sure that the structure that they have is in line with the nature around, and not hampering it, like it's coexisting happily with it. So that was the next step. So the next step that we did was, from the homes we moved on to all these restaurants, as I mentioned. And then came our, now currently, like we are doing corporates, because if we have to make our impact larger, if we have to make our products reach a wider audience, we had to go to the corporates, because if we are tackling one building, we are tackling about 1,000 people at one go. So the next step that we took was to go, approach the corporate buildings, co-working buildings, large IT parks, tech parks, to introduce greenery into their environment. And fortunately, the difference that we have seen from when we started to now is that it is a now it is given that when somebody is building an office, or somebody is building an IT setup, or even like other larger setups, they think of green spaces. And that is a happy change that we have seen. So now, as you've noticed, we are now catering to green needs of people, right from the homes to their offices to parks. And as Babita mentioned, we are now also and slowly building our portfolio in the national highways, wherein we are trying to work with the governments to introduce native greenery into our infrastructure spaces. So that's now what your green canvas is. So we want to achieve a point wherein when people think of greenery, they think of us in all aspects, like end to end green services.
Understood. So, one thing I'm very curious to understand is when you approach different corporates, how do they see this as a the business problem? So, when you pitch to businesses, they think everything from a numbers point of view, like what is the profitability impact, what is the impact on their top line. So, how do you convince corporates to implement this kind of strategy from a ROI point of view or from a tangible point of view?
Returns point of view.
So
Uh,
what we have seen, the corporates uh, think also about their employees now. So it is not everything is tangible for them. There are few things where they don't see the ROI, but yes, they do feel that if they can introduce greenery at multiple levels, there is a feel good factor about it amongst their employees, and they want to return back, especially to the spaces like where they eat their lunches or they spend their times or where they go for the smoking. So that what we see, they love to be in such places, and without thinking about the ROIs, the corporates are incorporating it. And also one more thing we have seen, that when the corporates are there, they feel, even while gifting or even while having those training sessions, they go for something like grow your microgreens, or how to make a terrarium, something which is connected to the nature. And I think their money doesn't come in. That
yeah.
is the thing that people want to do. And also we have this model where we have not a rental basis. So we give plants to the companies on a rental basis. So every month the outgo is not, it's not a capital expense, it's a monthly expense. So that's how, also how they like to balance. But what we feel, they want to incorporate greenery in their offices.
That's the change we have seen in from when we started to now. Like if you see some of the biggest co-working companies, whether it's your WeWorks, whether it's your IndieCube, and some of the others, you will see that a good portion of their very precious real estate property is actually given to a landscaping. Like they will leave massive amount of space which they can actually use to create more seating, they leave for landscaping. So that's a huge change that we have seen, and I think their ROI is in terms of employee satisfaction, in terms of better mental health overall for their people working in those buildings.
Mhm. Okay. So, entrepreneurship can be defined as a process where you solve a problem for the society and get compensated for it. Um if I were to ask you, what is the core problem you are solving for our society?
Greenery, like depleting greenery, massively depleting greenery, that's still the biggest goal that we have. Like all these things that we are doing will be of no consequence if we are not able to change people's mindset when it comes to the larger issue that we are facing. Because it is a mammoth task, it's a huge thing, and that's what we've been tackling on a multiple level. Like we can't bring on huge changes right away, so we are now trying to see if we can change people's mindset 1% at a time. Like if we are able to influence, let's say, 10 people, and those 10 people go and further influence another 100 people, and so on and so forth, we feel that we will be able to bring in uh, that massive change in people's attitude towards overall greenery and depleting greenery. Because it's a dire straits that we are in. I mean, it's
Is,
incredibly problematic.
is it a problem people are concerned about right now?
It is something that people, it's like how when people initially, when we started this business, it was very difficult to convince people that they need plants at home. It was something that they thought, okay, it's a little bit of a task, but okay, fine, I'll take two plants. But now, after 7 years of being in this business, it's a need that people feel that they, like, it's a need. When people build houses, they plan for that small area of greenery. So
And
that is the change that we are bringing even in this space.
And I
Yeah,
would
Bhavita.
like to add, even during this COVID period, we have seen this love for greenery has accentuated because people are staying, they have no connect with nature. So, what we have seen, the number of people flocking to the nurseries have become multiple times. You if even if you go to any roadside nursery, you'll see cars stop there, and people are willing to spend money and to take care of plants because that is what the connect with nature at the moment for them is to
Yeah.
take care of something, to make it grow, to make it so it is something which mentally connects with them. That is where we see that for many businesses this COVID has been bad but for the plant businesses, I'm not saying my business per se, but for any people who are dealing in plants and who are into gardening or even vegetable growing, the businesses are flourishing at the moment.
Yeah,
Got
because if you see, if you bring up three plants well, and suddenly you become an environmentalist, like you start seeing the value in taking care of greens.
it.
And that is how people are now getting into more and more awareness about how the challenges the earth faces on a much bigger level.
Got it. Um. Now let's get into the entrepreneurship part of entrepreneur our show. Uh, would like to understand how both of you came together and thought of building something around the area you are operating in. Also, would like to understand how did you arrive at the common agenda that this is something both of us want to pursue.
So this is something which is very easy to answer. We were friends first before we became co-founders and partners, and we used to travel a lot together. We used to take foreign trips together, and what both of us found in common were I was day trading and she was in an HR company, and we didn't love our job. We wanted to do something different, something which could make an impact. So we somehow felt we gelled well as friends, and it so happened that we got attracted to the common things like any twig fallen on the floor or even a rock, or how the nature is the plants are wrapping around a piece of rock. Both of us felt that we got attracted to the same thing. So it so happened that we went for a trip together to London, and we did a terrarium course there. And we thought that this was, and I'm talking about 7 years back when terrariums were something which were very uncommon in India. So we thought we will do it, something to that extent. But what we were taught over there was more with the plants which were not adaptable to the Indian conditions. So for 6 months, we figured out how to build a supply chain, from where to get what. Initially, we were importing glasses, but then we found that India has a wealth of people who can manufacture glasses for us. So from there, we started figuring out how the plants can grow in this environment and in Indian environment. To 6 months, it took us just to figure out how to build a product. And it is a product is as good as a product till it gets sold. And it happened that one of our friends was having a shop, and Soumya casually mentioned that Babita makes terrariums, and she said, why don't you keep it? So when we made first terrarium, we didn't know how to price it also, but we thought, okay, let's go keep it, let's see what the response was. And the response was phenomenal. And that response took us to the next step. It is as you grow, you think you are doing a good job, and it so happens that you, from one step to another, you keep on taking. And from terrariums, it took us people, one of the companies restaurant saw the terrariums, and they called us to do their restaurant based on our aesthetics and art part. And from there, there was one after another, the businesses kept coming to us. And off late, like after 3-4 years, we got into active marketing. And before that, it was only through word of mouth that the products were working for us. So I would like to add.
It was very much like a journey. Yeah, it was like a journey. I mean, it's not like we thought that we will become this big green company. We basically started, we wanted to sell terrariums when we started. But I think what we have learned over a period of like the 7 years that we've been working is that you have to first not be closed to any idea that comes your way. It took us a lot of courage on our part in the beginning to move from one particular thing that we had gotten good at to move to completely some new. Like we were not landscapers, we don't have any background in terms of our we are not landscape architects, no architecture background, no designing background. So to move from one product to this service where of designing was like a big jump. And it took us some time, but we did it, and we are so glad we did it, because now that's a huge part of our portfolio. Like the biggest part of our portfolio is the landscaping and maintenance of large buildings, of balconies, terraces. So I think what we have learned is to be open to ideas, to go with the flow, to learn to learn on the go as well, and take help wherever possible. Like, if you don't know something, get somebody who knows it, and just do it. Like, that's the only way to move forward. Otherwise we would still be sitting and only making terrariums. So yeah, that's one of the things that we've learned.
Okay. One thing Babita mentioned that both of you hated your job. Not, I wouldn't say hated, but you may have thought that there is a better alternative. Would
Yeah.
like to know. Would like to know how would you compare a job with the life of the entrepreneur?
Life of an entrepreneur is tough, man. It's tough, but it's
More
also very
satisfying.
satisfying. It's also very satisfying, because whatever I do, my mistakes, my joys, my things that we have done well, everything is ours. Like, whatever we have done has resulted into it, whether it's a failure or a success. So that satisfaction you can't take away. The satisfaction of having built something which has, like earlier, I remember when we had started, we would not think so far. It would just be like 1 year on 1 year, like we will look at this at 1 year thing. It was just that much. Like, next few months is what we would look at. Now we look at like 5 years down the lane. Like, now when we are talking to people who are doing NHI, we are not thinking very short term, we are thinking very, very, very long term. So I think those are the changes. As far as jobs are concerned, I think I can't say, I don't want to openly say that I hated it, but I felt like I was, and it's not just their fault. I think I was not giving them the best. Like, I think I was just like coasting, and I don't think it's great for a company to have an employee who's just like somehow doing something, because I was very, very dissatisfied. I didn't think I was making any difference to the company. So that was one thing. And Babita, I think it was more stress for you, right? Like, it was not.
Yes, it was, the my emotions used to rise with the market graphs, and it used to wane with the market graphs. And I just didn't it was giving me a lot of money though. So what, during that period, I felt that money was not something which was that attractive. There was
Yeah,
something more to it. So maybe, when we started, we were not taking salaries. Both Soumya and I didn't
we
take
didn't take
salary for
salary.
quite some
Yeah,
time.
we
Yeah,
didn't take
but we were,
salary for 2 years.
that satisfaction of, creating something from a scratch and making people happy with that, what was itself a very big prize for, and monetary benefit, like not monetary benefit for us. So I think that's how all entrepreneurs initially go through. That phase is always there, when the initial years, where you don't know whether your salary is important or running a company is more important. But over a period of time, once it reaches a point, you can get what you are expecting out of it. But
Yeah.
um, it's more of a passion than what we did in job. The passion part was missing as a day trader for me, and I think for Soumya it
Yeah,
was
yeah.
missing for
And
her
I
too.
mean, now, if you look at it now, like, it's we are more invested in the company, so everything that happens to the company does impact us. But it's all the highest factor is the happiness that we get out of it, or even just the fact that we are able to employ so many people. Even we even the fact that we are able to impact a larger society as a whole. Like, whatever decisions I take helps. Like, we work a lot with APD, like, Association for People with Disabilities, because they have a great horticulture department. So those things actually matter now, even after like long time. I cannot lie, it's tough, but at the end of it, if you're doing it just the way you should be doing it, it's just worth it. Yeah.
Okay. Now that you have been 7 years into it and you have got some traction, I would like to understand what is your end goal or what is the vision with this venture?
Now it is about impacting our immediate environment. Like that is the biggest
Yes.
thing that we have. Everything we do has to have a positive environment. So we have also changed our ways in which we are doing business. We were learning at the beginning, but now, like right from our supply chain, from the way we grow plants, the people we employ, how are we impacting our immediate environment, immediate communities? That is the biggest draw for us. Also, like even in terms of aspirations for the company, like I said, now we are looking 5 years down the lane, 10 years down the lane, where we are building larger green communities, working with larger set of people, impacting ecosystems, complete ecosystems, rather than just a small set of people. So that's the biggest goal now that we have.
Okay. In my experience, every entrepreneur goes through a series of failure as well while pivoting and building the venture. Would you be open enough to share some of your failures as entrepreneurs?
So many.
Yeah.
Oh
So,
God.
the
Please.
basic one initially was we were thinking very small. We were thinking of only selling a small part of things, and we were happy with that. Not that we were not happy with it, and we were very engrossed with it. We didn't see the big picture, but as we grew, as time passed, we started seeing a big picture, and the canvas has become big now. So it was initially just small tabletops. So now you see, if as Soumya said, it's now become more environment, like we want to do something for the mother earth, as you can say, than for individuals, and how we can impact, and all these small things were a challenge initially. The I and Soumya and I, we have a different nature. So so she is of a different nature. We have our conflicts, but what happens, it something comes out of it is much better than what I would have done on my own, or she would have done on her own.
I wouldn't be here. No, and also like failures. So, for example, we are not into project management. We had never done like large scale project management. So the first couple of projects were like such a big chaos. I mean, we would be screamed at by random people because we just didn't know. But it took those two failures. Like the first couple of projects were such a pain, but it took those two projects to teach us how to now navigate our through some of the larger ones. So every time we do something different, the first one is like a dud. It's just that now we are able to manage that. Back then every failure used to look like it's the end of us. Now it's part of our lives. Like even if it does not do well, it's part of our lives. I remember the first time we sold a terrarium and a plant died, we were like, shit, what are we doing? Like we should not be doing this. Now we have to tell people it's okay if you kill a couple of plants, it's fine. Like that's how you learn. As long as you learn from it, it's fine. So I think that's what we have learned. Like every now and then we have some massive ones. You can't you it's the nature of the business. You can't predict how your employees will behave at times. So in the middle of the project you might have some 5 people leaving. What do? So you always now then learn to have a backup. In the middle of a project, some of our one of our supervisors left. Like he used to be handling the whole thing and he left. So what do? So you now learn to go with the flow, and now we have like a backup. Okay, if this guy leaves, we'll have someone else. But and again, relationship with the clients becomes very important. Like how are you communicating? So yeah, failures are like it's every other day in
They are
some form.
more like learning lessons for us. Yeah.
Yeah, it's there. You cannot prevent it. It will be there. You just move on and you learn from it. That's all I can say. Don't let it get you down.
Babita mentioned, Babita gave some hint that sometimes you do have conflicts between the founders, and this is one thing
So
that
many.
many of our listeners also would be interested to understand. When there are multiple founders, how the dynamics work, how they resolve conflict, how do they arrive at a common agenda?
you
So
know
the conflicts are not in terms of a personal conflict. It's only a business conflict in terms of like choosing a design or selecting the right type of plants, but you know,
Hmm.
it is part of it, and you
Absolutely.
just sometimes have to give
How
away
you deal
sometimes.
with it also.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, it is like any corporate. If you are 4 5 people who
Mhm.
have a different point of view, you'll always have a conflict. The conflict for us luckily has not been to an extent where it has been something beyond the business. So it has only been for a plan or for a particular product, or very
How
small.
we approach a few things. Yeah.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
But
Is
I
it,
think, what has helped. I'm sorry, I'm interrupting. Go
uh,
ahead, Priya.
so I'm trying to understand, is it good to have conflicts between the founders?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
See, I tell you, before we started, it helped that we were friends, like we were good friends. So we had decided that, even before we started, we had decided that, this, given our nature, given that we know each other, it was very, very obvious that there will be problems, there will be conflicts, there will be change in the. We had decided that, beyond a point, we will not let it impact our personal relationship, and we keep that in mind very, very firmly. So, given the situation, either of us walks off. Like, if I strongly believe in something which she's not very sure of, but she feels like, okay, she's really invested in it, Babita will walk off, like she will give in. So I think it is very important to draw the line, draw the line that you, either of us, will not cross. uh, when it comes to uh, overall running of the business and where we want to take it, it's very important that we have the same vision, and that is where we have to somehow work out. Even if we look at it differently, we make sure that that particular path, we have the same vision for that path. Everything else, it does not matter, like design changes. We have very different ways of looking at things, and what we give into is, it depends on the situation. But overall business, we have to make sure that we have the same views and same vision.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. We're approaching end of the session. Just 5 minutes left. I only have two questions left. Uh, can you tell us what are your learnings as entrepreneurs, which can shorten the other entrepreneurs who are watching this podcast or listening to this podcast?
I'll give you two. One is that never hesitate in taking help. Please don't think you are able to do anything on your own. If people are ready to offer you help, take it blatantly, shamelessly. Take help. Take help from people you trust, but take help. There is just no way you can do it on your own. I mean, people are offering, do take help. Second thing is, there are so many lessons. I think one thing we always faced with and struggle with even now is imposter syndrome. Always feeling that we are not doing the right thing, we are not the right people for doing it, whether we are doing it right or not, whether we should be here or not. Like, those things are constantly there with you. That will never go away, and you just have to push through that. So you have to believe that you have built something. If it has existed for 7 years, I'm very sure it's going to exist for the next 20 years. So belief in oneself is incredibly important. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs start with that belief, but it sort of slowly goes down. In the next, like, they start on a high, and then in the next 1 year, when things don't fall through, it goes down. I think that's one important thing to go through. Babita?
Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Okay.
Yeah. And you will learn. Nobody, like, I was not an entrepreneur. I still don't see myself being an ideal entrepreneur. We run things very differently, but you learn a whole lot of things. We didn't even know what a pro forma was when we started. Somebody asked us for a pro forma, and we Googled it. Oh, what's a pro forma? So, that's how it is. You will learn.
And every step is a learning step. That's more important. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My last question to both of you. You have gone through a journey of entrepreneurship, and every entrepreneur starts it by there are some plans, but there are some accidents as well. So how do you suggest someone who is right now thinking about entrepreneurship to start their journey as entrepreneurs? What are the different series of steps you would want them to go through?
I don't even know whether we have the right person to say this, because ours was
Yeah,
pure accident.
yes, but
uh,
I think from our experience, what we see is the vision has to be clear. So there will be failures, but each failure has to be a learning lesson. We
yeah.
also feel that you will have problems in self belief at times when when you are very low. You always have that feeling, but I think pursue it, pursue that dream, and it is sometimes that nature contrives to make you successful. So
And believe in
that's
the idea. Like if you believe in that idea, I think that's the most important thing. If you're starting with something, believe in that product or idea or whatever you're doing. If you don't believe it, nobody else is going to believe it. If you are not able to sell your product or your idea, nobody else can do it. So I think that's very, very important that that the product or the idea that you are starting with is something that you are completely convinced about, because you will be going with that idea to the market. I think that's the only thing that was standing for us when, because we believed in this product we made. Nothing else was clear. We didn't know how to sell it also, but we believed in that product. I think that was a
and
good starting
also
point.
I think one should have 6 months of income with you, to think that you will
Yeah,
not earn
absolutely.
anything from your company, but you have to survive.
Mm.
So some source of income, or even if your savings, at least 6 months of savings should be there with you. That's what I feel.
Yeah, absolutely. Because we didn't take any salary for a year, so I know it's very important to have that savings.
Got it. Okay. On that note, I'd close this session. It has been a pleasure to host both of you, and our audience would have got a lot of lessons from this video. Thanks for your time, Soumya and Babita, and our best wishes for your green
Thank you
campaign.
so much.
Thank you, Priya.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having us, Eli.
Listeners, you can follow Soumya
Yes.
and Babita on LinkedIn by typing Soumya Tiwari and Babita Sinha. That is it for today's episode. We will be back with another exciting entrepreneur. Stay tuned to ELI.